So good. Oh, good evening and welcome to it. This is Chess and My name is AD Beeler. We're coming back with yet another episode. Another interesting episode, of course, because now we're focusing on the politics of things. See, I like it when the politics are politicking. It just brings some excitement. But again, it threatens the game. Because again, it threatens the loss of some certain individuals. That I don't know, it's so crazy. But listen to this. I just woke up to this very interesting letter this morning that I came across. You take a look at it and you say what you think. You can't help it. I mean, I don't want you to judge it before you've even read it, but it kind of made me feel like, what? Like, I mean, you would not believe that this letter comes from an official, it bears an official letterhead of a structure. It has obviously all addresses and everything. It's so crazy. But listen to what the letter is saying, and then I'll go back to it, and then obviously we'll chop it up together. But listen to this. The communique serves to inform members that. So, dear members, I'll go back to who it's referring to, but you would swear that it's coming from some primary school club or just kiddies clubs or whatever thing. So it states as follows. So as a subject, this communique serves to inform members that, number one, all districts, regions are equal within the boundaries of Northwest. Okay, didn't mean to. Number two, no executive members or individual owns any district or players, as he or she was elected by members who believed in him or her to run the affairs of the district. Bear in mind, as you have found the district running, even after you, the federation, will continue to run the same way previous leaders left it. So you're not important. So don't think you're something special. Like, see, this is so personal. It's so crazy. Number three, no district or region is above the provincial federation. And number four, all district regions are members of the Provincial Federation that is affiliated to Chess South Africa and Northwest Provincial Sports Confederation that is affiliated to SASCOC. Number five, all district executive members should refrain from treating their district as if they are running their property or family affairs by bullying their member. NP, and there's like capitalize. There's like a scream, a shout, capitalize. All of us have found districts running and they are still going to run after we are gone. No one is above these logos. And I'm going to stress is no one is above these logos. Hope you find this in order. Yours in Chess. Mr. Tediso Morikisi, Secretary. And then there's a letter from the Northwest Province Chess. It's so crazy. That you read this whole letter, you think you'll find anything of substance, and like maybe the members who this letter is written to, they'll find something worthy. They'll find some substance into it, right? Like it's obviously true. The Northwest Province Chess members, the districts, it is Ngakamodiri Molema, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Dr. Ruth Sehomotsi Mompati Bojanala. There's 4 districts, right? So number one, so all districts are equal within the boundaries of the Northwest. Okay. Who forgot? What happened? Did anybody act as if their district was superior, bigger? Like it just kind of leaves you with the sort of questions, right? Like, okay, why are you stating the obvious? But again, equal in what way? Equal in size, equal in number of players, equal in pocket, equal in what is equal? Because again, like we know Animal Farm, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. But I mean, again, without the Animal Farm sort of connotations. But what is the meaning of them being equal? Because I don't believe, like, I mean, I know in Mpumalanga we always thought Ehlanzeni was the bigger district because they had the players, they had the strength, they had the I don't know, activity. Well, the other regions were that was at a time when I was involved, but I don't believe that all districts are equal. But okay, so yes, they're equal. Give some substance to it, right? And number two, no executive member or individual owns any district. Okay, whoa, we know. No individual, no executive members or individual owns any district or players as he or she was elected by the members who believed in him or her to run the affairs of the district. So bear in mind that as you have founded districts, you see, this is so crazy. You leave this as you have founded. make no improvement, make no changes, make no, I don't know, but you wouldn't want to leave it as you found it though, right? Like, why were you there? Just to serve a term and then leave, like, so that you can put it in your resume, CV, whatever, someday to say, I was also once a member of the executive. But then what changes did you bring? Oh, no, we don't bring, we leave it as we found it. That's what we are told. We found it like this, we must leave it like this. It's all crazy. So now, so as the previous members left it, now you find it this way. So that's why certain things will just stay stagnant without any improvement because everybody's scared to make a change. Number 3, no district or region is above the provincial federation. Okay. Yeah. Well, you see now, it's, yes, that's true. That, like, because they fall under the province, right? Again, I don't know. No, I kind of feel like there's something missing. There's like some meat missing. It's just giving us bones. Yes, we know. And all district regions are members of the provincial federation that is affiliated to. And now, okay, you see all of those things. It's like, I'm sorry, that's the province. That's what they're saying. We forgot to, what's the word, man? We forgot to induct you. We forgot to offer you training as soon as you were elected into your federation, your district. There are some things that we forgot to tell you, so we're going to try and give you some of it in this letter here. Just remind you that you report to us. We are superior to you. We are the, like, you see what I mean? It's like, oh snap, we forgot to tell you these things. All districts and executive members, all districts and regions are members of the provincial federation. You must know that, right? Like, what happened? What is this? Like, because honestly, then all districts and executive members should refrain from treating their district as if they are running their own You know, and sometimes people run these run federations as if they're running their own business or their own property. They run it with the intention of seeing an improvement. I don't know, or maybe some of them, maybe they say there's positives and there's negatives. Because some of them want to see an improvement, want to see money coming in, want to see the family, if they're running as a family, the family benefiting. They want to see everybody in here. Like, I don't know. Okay, but anyway, so this letter bears all of the logos of the officers. There's a Chess South Africa. Because, remember there's this part that says, no one is above these logos. No one is above these logos. So these are the logos that you see. The Chess South Africa logo, which I believe was changed. It wasn't like this before, right? Like there's the previous one that, if I find it, I'll share with you. And then there's the Northwest logo. And then there's the Northwest Bujanala logo. Apparently, this is the old Bujanala logo. They decided to use the old one, which I find very funny. And yeah, which is also beautiful. And the new one is beautiful too. But okay, then there's the Dr. Ruth S. There's Dr. Ruth S. Mompadi Chess. Yeah, that one. It needs improving. I don't know if you're allowed. Maybe even the logos, they say you found it like this, you're going to leave it like this. Yeah, but this Dr. Ruth logo needs some improvement. I see the make your next move, the best move logo, which is probably the Ngakamori Modiri Molema logo, but it is not written. It doesn't say. That's another logo that really needs an improvement. Like if there's an executive committee here, it must come back and just say, hey, something needs fine tuning. Like, because I'm worried. Like, I see what the Western Province had a competition where they were trying to improve their logo and saying, hey, if you can design a better logo, you would win yourself this and that and so forth. Because they're trying to improve their already beautiful logo. That's what they want to do. If they have a better one, like it's always improvement, right? Like you want to make changes when you get into. So yeah, but let's forget about the logos and just come back to this. Let me just show you, for interest's sake, let me just read at the bottom the committee members of this. Who are obviously co-signing this letter. And number one is Mr. C. Lefiedi, the president. C. Lefiedi. And there's B. Mokoto, first vice president. And there's L. Lehuete, second vice president. There's T. Morekisi, secretary signed by him. There's K. Dipale, deputy secretary. And there's S. Matsitse, treasurer. There's J. Matlama, Mr. Matlama, additional member knowing from schools. And there's O. Nkwe. Onkwe. That's Omkhulu Nkwe, the head coach, right? And then there's D. Monchio Ach. So all of these people looked at this letter and they were like, send it. So the funny thing is that when you're sending a letter like this, with your own background information coming from a certain meeting where there was some... It lacks substance. But again, if it's a letter written to individuals, they understand it. Like, we get the message. You're reminding us that we are not bigger than you. We seem to be bigger than you, but hey, you're reminding us. But then now again, so I'm trying to get some more clarity from all the members. I speak to everyone that seems to be written here, whose contacts I have. Fortunately, I was able to speak to the secretary of the of Northwest. That is Mr. Tsepiso Morekisi, the person who signed this letter that we were just reading. I guess what he says. And then when I asked about the letter, that doesn't make sense. He says, "There's a bit of background. Remember we were meant to have some elections on in the Northwest a while ago." I'm like, "Oh yes, I remember." And I called you about information, and you said you were going to check with your president, and you never came back to me. Like, yeah, no, I was going to come back to you. But it's just that you hurried and you went to record. I'm like, I waited the whole day. I mean, the end of business day. He's like, no, I was going to come back. So basically, yeah, so we're speaking, and it's telling me that, yeah, there are some members who feel like that because they've got activity, they are superior to other members. Some federations, some regions within the Northwest that feel like because they are the active ones, they feel like they should be the ones that have a say. I don't know how you feel about this. Like, you also have your say, have your own opinion, right? Like, have your say on this. So these members feel like they are bigger than the other regions. They are the ones that are maybe probably meant to take over. Then, because there was supposed to be elections. So apparently now, see, now I'm speaking to everybody. Apparently now, those regions tried to find some information. They wanted to find out who is nominated and were they nominated by and who are the seconder for those nominations. They wanted to find the nomination list, which they got. I'm like, okay, fine. Who nominated this person and who seconded it? Which is normally what you do, what you release, right? When you're releasing a nomination list. Because people want to know, okay, was this person nominated by someone in good standing? And was the secondment by someone also in good standing? Which makes sense. But again, apparently there was a delay from the secretary and the elections officer in for being and obviously forthcoming and coming forth with that information. All right. So the members, you see now I'm just so basically they wrote this letter, which was forwarded to me now by Mr. Morekisi, Tsepiso Morekisi, who's the secretary of Northwest, and it's just to give you some background. Here's what happened. So there's this letter that was written, and people claimed that it was signed by the president of Bojanala and the vice president of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, right, Dr. KK. So now I'm saying that those afterwards, very interestingly, the president of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda denies being aware of the letter, and it says, I have no knowledge of this letter and I'm not co-signing it, and it's the first time I see such a thing. To insinuate, to suggest that the vice president, who obviously was meant to first obviously speak to we'll get to that. But now here's the point. here's the point. So the letter that we've just read was probably being directed to these two regions. That's a crazy thing. This is a letter from the two regions that they submitted after elections. Because you remember then the elections were then postponed. Or as I've heard from Mr. Carol Lefieri, no, you're wrong. You see, you like speaking, that's his word. You like speaking things before, without facts. The elections were not postponed, they were adjourned. Okay, thank you. So they were apparently adjourned. So what happened was, out of the four regions which were meant to be there, two regions were known to be inactive. You'll remember the other regions. Let me just go back to quickly and see if we can still remember them together. I'll remind myself and remind you. Yeah, so the other region is Ngaka Modiri Molema. I still say I haven't seen the tournament by the Ngaka Modiri Molema the whole of last year and this year. Since chess and wine. You see what I mean? And then I want to say, yeah, just because it's not on chess results, then it doesn't mean they're not active. Hey, just because in Tanzania is not active as a region, we all know that, but it doesn't mean there are no tournaments. But there are no tournaments by the federation. We hold tournaments on our own capacity, but still, it doesn't mean the region is active. Trust me. Even if there are there's 20 tournaments a week happening, as long as they're not held by the region or even under the auspices of the region is not active because the region needs to basically. So what they're saying to me when I say, from what I know, from what I hear as well, that these two regions are not active, they're saying just because there are no rated tournaments, just because the players in there don't have ratings, it doesn't mean they are not active. But I mean, how do you record activity in terms of shares, in terms of regions and federational activity? I don't know, because the executives hold meetings, because there's an elected executive. What are they doing? What are they elected for? I don't know. See now, yes. So, in fact, so out of the 4 regions, after their request, these two regions wrote the letter, and they left. In fact, they left Dr. Ruth Sekhomotsi Mompati and Ngakamodiri Molema to go on and have their own elections, because maybe they're the ones that wanted to continue to have elections without all the information being forthcoming. So basically, this is the letter that was written by Bojanala and Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. So it reads as follows: it's directed to the elections officer, Mr. Sekoto Tebe, the electoral officer of Northwest Provincial Sports Confederation. And it's as follows: Dear Mr. Tabe, Northwest Province chess elections scheduled for 3 February 2024. On behalf of the Bojanala Chess Federation and Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, but they wrote Kuanda. Crazy. Why is spelling mistake? Like, you see now, it makes people doubt the letter. Like, if I wrote this, it wouldn't have a spelling error. See, it's not from my federation. Dr. Kenneth Kuanda, but obviously it's the Kenneth Kaunda logo there. We hereby inform you of our withdrawal from the upcoming election process scheduled for 03 February 2024. We confirm receipt of the nomination list and their CVs. However, we have requested confirmation of who the nominators and seconders were to establish the legitimacy of the nominations, but have not been provided with this information at the time of writing. The reason for our request was that it seemed that the process has unfortunately been marred by objectionable practices by members, like the nomination of and acceptance by individuals with an obvious conflict of interest. Having regard to the above, we believe that this election will not seem to be legitimate in the eyes of the majority of the players in the province whom we represent, and we do not want to be seen to be part of it. We thank you for your assistance in facilitating our elections thus far. Regards. Lincoln September, President Bojanala Chess Federation. Stephanie Janse van Rensbeck, Vice President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Right. So, after that, this is so interesting, because apparently after that came a letter, a text, and apparently in the Northwest group, a council group, which reads as follows: Good morning, colleagues, regarding that letter. I trust that you are all well. I am ashamed to say this. I am ashamed to say it's the first time I see this joint letter. I can confirm that Dr. West ExCo never had a joint meeting with Bojanala that led to this conclusion and decision. My view, these are individuals driving their own interests and agendas, using organizations, clubs to fight their own battles. For me, this letter is unofficial, as it does not represent joint interest of Dr. KK. Kindest regards, TK Molefe. Apparently, this TK Molefe is the president of Dr. KK, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda Federation, and obviously, so my efforts were now to speak to Mr. Lincoln September, to speak to Mrs. Stephanie Janse van Rensbeck, who's also the vice president, and Mr. Molefe. Mr. Molefe's number is not going through. Other people are still trying to ask permission from him if they can give me his number, and it's not. But I already have the number. So see, I'm trying to contact the person. But so now here's what I'm getting from Mr. Lincoln September and Dr. KK and Mr. Stephanie Janse van Rensbeck, right? Yes, basically that's the surname. That is the name. So now, yeah, Janse van Rensbeck. So before I even get to what they're saying, if the president was objecting to, and obviously feels like his organization was misrepresented, instead of now coming in and saying in a group text, this is not our stance, we don't support this, and so forth, why not either direct the secretary to write an official letter now, since he's seen an unofficial one, even though by a recognized member of his committee, his vice, right? Why not say something like that? Why not write a letter that states officially, we distance ourselves, instead of writing a text? I don't know, or maybe write it himself and just say, okay, we distance ourselves from that. We wish to continue with the elections because we are not we're siding with anybody. And obviously, that's the question that was asked apparently by the Secretary of Northwest, Mr. Morekisi, to the respected President of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, saying, "Good morning. If you verify that the letter is unofficial, Mr. President, I believe it will be correct to send a withdrawal letter and confirm that Dr. KK is not joined to any district as they are having to the constitution that governs the affairs of the district." Now, it's so interesting because the letter is already with the electoral officer, and the electoral officer took that letter and used it to as a reason, and gave it as a reason for postponing or adjourning the elections, right? So it will be a smart move for the president to just go back and say no, and write another one, like officially, that's maybe from the secretary, to say, no, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda is still on. We want to continue. And then they'll have 3 regions available. Bujana will be the only one out. And then have the elections. But again, it turns out that what happened, in fact, is that before the elections, all the regions did the same thing. So, I mean, it's like the same thing that we did even before we were having the elections of 25 November. If you remember, it's something that it was carried out similarly, where provinces, in this case regions, nominated 2 individuals that will go to represent the delegates. In fact, have 2 delegates that they send forward to be the ones who will be representing the region in the elections. So one of those delegates was the vice president, which is Stephanie Janse van Rensburg, and the other one, name forgotten because it's not written down anywhere. But yes, so it was 2 of them. So now the delegates now being given the go ahead, the what do you call this thing, man? It's the mandate, in fact, to oversee the elections, and the one being the vice president. In the absence of the vice president, that vice president becomes president, right? And obviously being delegated by the executive committee to represent them. When they come up front and they see something that they don't understand, apparently will see something that doesn't make sense. So what they did is they basically called a meeting to say, apparently the meeting was between the delegates of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and the delegates of Bujanala, who decided, you know what, this is not on, the information is not forthcoming, we don't have sufficient information to continue with this, and they don't want to. And I trust them when they say that, because I get the same thing that happened with me, right? They don't want to give us the nominators and the seconders details so we can see who nominated them. So no, let's just sit this one out. And they agreed. And they signed, obviously, they wrote the letter and signed it. And apparently now, you see, that's why Mr. Molefe needs to also come speak for himself and respond to these things, to these questions himself. Because apparently now, Stephanie Janse van Rensburg spoke to Mr. Molefe to let him know of the situation, and he says, this is all on you. You are responsible for this. Please take care of it. Do whatever you feel is right. That's what she was told as the vice president. And as a vice president, this is what she thought was right at the time, and obviously co-signed the letter that we just saw. And it's so funny because apparently, and I find it very funny, because if you are now a leader of a federation, the president, in fact, you can't be saying this way. So apparently, after now the inquiry over this text that we've just read of him saying that this is the first time I'm hearing this apparently Mr. Molefe is saying, I don't want to be involved with the politics. How does a president of a federation not want to be involved with the politics? When you're already in the political office, this is already politics. You're already in the political office. What has been? I'm wondering what sort of threats came his way, right? Like if you were at the point where you were a president and you say, I don't want to be involved with this politics, please take care of it. What does it mean, though? I don't get it. When a president says they don't want to be involved with the politics of things, when it is the politics of things that are your chief responsibility as president. And then you want to come and deny being involved or being even aware of a document that was communicated to you, just because maybe now it's touching the wrong nerves of your friends. The friends that you don't want to be on the bedside with, probably. You see now, because you don't want to be, we haven't have a chance. But Mr. Molefe is always welcome to come back. You see, that's the insinuation we're getting. Because now it seems like Mr. Molefe is saying, I want to distance myself because now people said, oh, so this is what you do. This is how you do us. He was like, no, I'm not doing it this way. I'm like, no, this is what you do to us after all we've done to you. Okay, I can retract. But what are you retracting? You did not write the letter. You were made aware of the letter. You were not even involved in the elections because you already have delegates representing your federation. You've given them the power. Just say that. You know what? In matters of the elections, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda has given a mandate to the following 2-3 individuals. They are the ones responsible. Speak to them. If you're not happy with what they're saying, write to us, and we will sit obviously as discussion with the committee. And because now, if it's so crazy, but these are the politics of the Northwest. I wonder if the elections are going to happen because they still need to release updates and say, "Hey, this is what's happening with the politics. These are the updates." So, but it's so crazy. It's a lot. And this video is becoming a lot because I was hoping that I would get a chance to get into detail with the Nelson Mandela Bay and the Eastern Cape issue, which I kind of find also is very funny. It has its own facets as well, funny, and it's doing the same things as well. It's like you have a federation leader that's been suspended, and after their suspension, there are elections in the region. And that federation leader becomes a president. No, he was suspended because before he was a federation leader. So I don't know what he was suspended as. From chess activities. That's Mr. Mnawa being suspended by the Eastern Cape, and then now the Eastern Cape the Eastern Cape province issues the letter where they say they're going to have an election a meeting with the clubs, the regions, the council, because now there's a lot of clubs that are saying, we were not involved with the elections, we were locked out. Here there were bodyguards that were in there were armed securities. I'm saying bodyguards as if they were assigned a certain individual to guard a certain individual. So that obviously got to the Eastern Cape executive, which is interim. And the Eastern Cape released a letter. Here's a letter that says, "Dear all, the Eastern Cape Chess has resolved on having a meeting with all the club's leadership of the Nelson Mandela Bay on the 24th of February 2024. The link has been and time for the meeting will be shared to the clubs that will share their details on the link below. So your cooperation towards the above mentioned request will be highly appreciated. Signed, Luzu Kondinisa, Eastern Cape Chess. That's the interim president. But then now they had this big squabble on the Africa Chess media group where they are fighting. Well, you've got Freddie Odendo throwing what he has on Mr. Peter Mnawa. Yeah, you had your wife sit with the bank statements and you didn't want us to see it. And now there is Mr. Luzuko Denise throwing what he can as well at Mr. Mnawa Peter, saying, yeah, you are suspended. You are suspended. You are nothing. You can't be involved in chess and so forth. You are still suspended. And you've got Mr. Mnawa now coming back and saying, what do you have against me? I don't know. And it just seemed like it was a battle against an individual, right? Like, which is... So it's all these things coming out. It's like... So the crux of the matter is... It was reported, and the funny thing about this, it is in the previous number of videos. So there's an interview with Mr. Mnawa Peter, there's an interview with Freddie Odendo, and Freddie states that there's money is missing, or there's mismanagement of funds in the Nelson Mandela Bay, and then he says the elections did not go constitutionally in a way. There was exclusion of some members of some clubs. So there were some clubs that came to attend, but they were not allowed to come inside. They were kept outside because obviously there was a list of clubs that were accepted, and there was armed security, as if it was expected that everybody would want to come in even though they were not invited. What? It's just club. It's supposed to be an open thing, right? Or maybe not. So there was that, and apparently they were not allowed access or to at least have enough time to see, peruse, and have an understanding of the bank statements. Not the bank statements, in fact, the financial statements. So there were no financial statements when there needed to be financial statements, but there were instead, bank statements. So when you ask why it happened, what was the treasurer? Wasn't there a treasurer? And Mr. Noah stated that there was no treasurer. And apparently the previous treasurer was Jenny February. That's Jesse February's mother, right? Yes, she was the previous treasurer who resigned in the middle of the term and left. And apparently she was also at the meeting. That's Jenny February, Jesse February's mother, Women International Master Jesse February. She was at the meeting, and while she was at the meeting, maybe she should have reported on what had transpired during her term until the time of resignation, because she was there already, right? Like, and why were the statements with someone else? Fine, you've resigned. If you resigned and you're no longer a part of, I don't know, man. But yeah, so she was there, but she set it out. And the elections happened, so the AGM was held, but there was no treasurer's report. There was no presidential report because even the president was not present. That is Nathan Freeman, whom I tried to obviously get some answers to. Send him some questions, like send me questions. I send him questions, and he doesn't respond. And then the next day there's elections, or next week there's elections, and he's out. After you're asking questions, I'm no longer involved. I'm like, what are you guys running away from? What is it? Like, hey, it kind of makes you feel like there's more to this. Because if the treasurer was there, why didn't the treasurer issue what they... Because, I mean, aren't treasurers meant to have month-to-month reports up to a point that they resign? So after the point that you resign, then you've got the month-to-month reports up to that point, and then you issue those ones. And you're like, me, this is where I resigned. But there was no such. Because, again, the treasurer needed to say, when I left here, there was this much left in the account, and this is how everything else was spent. This is what was done. Anything that happened afterwards, I don't know about. But why didn't Jenny February do that? I don't know. And again, the Eastern Cape province, does it recognize the current elected officials of the Nelson Mandela Bay, even though they're interim? Or do they not? Because if they don't recognize the currently elected one executive, that means they need to go back to the previous one for some answers. And obviously have them help organize a new election. Or they will be forced to recognize this one. What's happening? I don't know, man. Like, there's still more that needs to be shared with these things. But in the absence of superior structure, above structure, the Chess South Africa, who would need to be involved, we don't know what's happening. But again, Sports Confederation probably needs to get involved. In the Nelson Mandela Bay, Sports Confederation says it can't get involved because Nelson Mandela Bay is in errors. No, not in errors. It's not in good standing with the regional Sports Confed. What did they do? What did they not do? They're not in good standing. So they were there for the elective AGM, and they just observed, didn't do nothing, didn't say anything. They have no comment on the proceedings. So that means they also do not co-sign, do not approve of it. They can't. You are not our our member recognized, a member in good standing. Hey, yo. Chess in South Africa. Very interesting. You know what? Let's leave it at this. We've shared what we could. It's not like we're trying to solve your problems. We're just trying to make everybody aware of your problems. And maybe they can help you deal with them. Like, everybody becomes aware of your problems and help you deal with them. But again, we're also trying to make you realize how ridiculous you are sometimes as leaders with the things you do and the things you say. And how you deal with certain things. Like the leadership that will go on WhatsApp groups fighting against members who are suspended, and then they will claim that they want to be the objective, I don't know, man. Would you call them objective mediators? But or not necessarily mediators, man. But because, you know, now that interim president of Eastern Cape has to sit now in the table and listen to the side of the clubs, and then come and listen to the side of the suspended Mr. Mninawa. But then when you've already made it obvious that you have these feelings of animosity towards the man, like, then you obviously you're excluding yourself. You have to recuse, if that's the word. Like, set this one aside. Fine, get the information and give it to someone and say, you make the judgment. Because now, at this point, it doesn't seem like anybody's going to take whatever judgment that comes from Mr. Luzugu Ntenisa to heart, because he's already made it obvious that I want to remove you. You are out. How are you approaching this objectively if you can do that? I don't know, man. Hey, yeah. And then the next thing they'll say, Mr. Mninawa bought me wine. But he didn't. But I say, again, that's what I'm saying, though, right? Like, certain things need to be handled professionally until a point, right? Like, it doesn't matter who is. Like, if you let emotions run forward and they run things. Because now you're making me now seem like he's the most logical one. But I mean, he's also at some point started playing in the mud there in that conversation. I wish I had that funny conversation that you had very late at night. It was so crazy. But it is what it is. So yeah, you may have valid points, but the way you go about proving them, crazy. You know what? Good evening. Let's leave it at this. This is Chess and Wine. I'm Eddie, drinking from a decanter this time. And you want to know why you drink wine from a decanter? Because certain wines, like the wine I'm drinking right now, the Baron, if I may put it that way, and they are very acidic. And if you don't put them in wine, I mean in a decanter, and allow them to oxygenated to get some oxygen, then obviously you'll be overwhelmed by the acid that is in them and you end up getting your heartburns and things like that and so forth and so forth. But then if you put them in a decanter, whoo, afterwards, you can drink 2 bottles. Like I have 2 bottles in one decanter right now. 2 bottles decanted and it's oozy. Anyways, yeah, so add oxygen to your wine, decanted. So now we're promoting decanters, right? Like it's very smart. Every wine lover must have a decanter. Anyways, good evening and good night.